and welcome to the 100th episode of the LARP News podcast.
It's ridiculous, but to all of you out there who've made it this far, like a centurion of a centurion
One hundo, Ian.
Yeah.
100 episodes where we started doing this, not in my wildest imaginings. In fact, I remember a time when we got to 50 and thinking...
That was ridiculous.
We're never going to get to 100.
No.
Like... We're going to pack
I wasn't
it in.
sure we were ever going to do 10 or 20.
No, exactly.
Every single,
But here we are.
It feels like one of those things where, like, if you listen to all 100, you should, like, you know what I mean? There should be some kind of, like, therapy group that you can...
I was thinking a badge rather than a therapy group.
I went through 100 episodes of this shit.
Yeah. Well, we salute you, dear listener. So we were like...
What are we going to do?
Got a little bit surprised by the 100, must be honest.
Yeah.
We've been releasing
We kind of sleptwalked into it, really.
We've been releasing a lot of stuff recently. So it's like... We usually do like a wrap-up and a kind of like retrospective thing around Christmas time.
Yes.
It's now, October? So we were like, hey, why don't we do like a Q&A?
Yeah.
And we were like... Get a couple of questions.
I thought we would get no questions at all.
I was
like, we're going to put a post out and we're going to get like 2 questions or something, right? And
I'll take 2. I was just worried at not getting any questions and then it being like really awkward. That it would be like, oh man, we asked for questions and like literally nobody.
Yeah.
Or we've done such a good job that nobody has any questions because we talk about everything.
But we got enough questions to. I don't know if you can hear this. To put in a little hat.
Yeah, the hat of destiny.
We literally have a hat we're going to pull questions from. We're going to try our best, I think, just to see how many we can pull. Who knows how?
There's a bunch in here.
Yeah.
Some people have asked multiple questions. I tried to put the questions that were similar in the same one.
Right.
But, like, some of them deal with similar stuff, but different...
different aspects. And I think we're going to waffle, and some questions will get... quite lengthy answers in a very LARP noobsy kind of way, and some questions will get fairly short answers. It really just top of the dome stuff.
Yeah, the intention is to get through all of them.
Yeah, but there's a lot. There's a lot in that hat right now. I'm feeling a little bit intimidated.
Yeah, but would you like to?
Should I go first?
The first question
I would be honoured. I would be honoured, dear listeners, to draw first from the hat of questions. Here we go.
I'm nervous now. Okay, cool.
All right. It's from Tom.
Okay.
Has LARP given you new or honed already existing skills that you use in everyday life? And then... Oh, actually, how's this? Because there's 2 questions
Okay,
here.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically, this is like why I put them together. So Tom Banford said... has LARP given you any new or honed already existing skills that you use every day? And then Daniel Wild asked us, what skills, hard or soft, have you gained from the hobby?
Okay,
that's
same
why
question. That's why
I put them together.
Okay.
This is
You're
exactly
already
what I was
seeing the
talking
mechanics behind the windows of how this works. I immediately fucked it on the first question.
It's going to be a long episode, guys. It's going to be a long episode. I think this is a really big and great question. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I think... So for me, and I guess this is maybe a bit of a cop-out answer, but the biggest skill, in a way, has been my sense of self and who I am, and the skills to essentially just explore what it is to be Ian, and through LARP has been an amazing experience, and that's also surrounding a lot of stuff outside the activity of going to LARP, like moving into crafting, being creative again, and all this kind of stuff. The impact it's had on my life and the way it's changed, it's brought new skills to the fore that I didn't think I had, or skills I'd maybe given up on, or had just put aside, especially creatively.
I think you've developed a load of crafting skills that you didn't have. You've done... your confidence in speaking with strangers and large groups has massively changed. Like, for me, I think, definitely honed my public speaking skills, like, massively. Like, when went to a wedding recently,
crazy,
and the best woman didn't want to do a speech.
Yeah.
So the groom asked me if I wanted to do something, and I was like, sure. I literally didn't have much... I didn't have anything planned.
No.
And literally, way into the wedding, I get handed a microphone, and I have to do a speech. And I felt rightly confident to stand up in front of however many people were there and just start talking.
You were like a stand-up comedian. It was crazy.
It went really well.
It went really, really well. I was blown away. I mean, wow. You've always had a certain charismatic ability, I'd say. But I think to see you learn to harness it and use it in and hone the skills of actually using it and directing it, I think has been really interesting.
There's two things, right? There's confidence,
yes,
and there's also developing those skills, right? To get good at something, you literally just need to do it. They always this is a joke about talent, right? Is that person's so talented, they also spend every single day spending time doing the thing and getting good at it, right? Like you have to. With this goes with any skill, as far as I'm aware of, really, unless you're some
savant.
But even then, that's what they do all day long, and they enjoy it. So it's
there's this musician I've been like watching recently called Dimash Kudaibergen, who is like outrageously talented, has like an insane vocal range, all the things. But like he started singing when he was like 4 and has he makes it look extremely easy, right? But he's extremely talented. But that talent is, of course, birthed out of the fact that he works amazingly hard and has done all of his life.
I think people like singing is a good one, because that's a skill I would like to learn. I would love to learn how to sing and to be able to also voice work. I'd really like to develop more ability to be able to do characters and different RP characters, learning about cadence and accents and a bunch of other stuff is one thing that I would like to learn more, which in fact I've actually been learning.
You've done
a bunch of this stuff. So
you've done more storytelling. Also, you've been going to many different LARPs and playing different characters. I mean, obviously myself, I've only really got to play Talus. But then outside of that, in D&D and stuff, and in other RPGs that we've been playing, I've been sort of playing different characters. And those of you who are GMs out there, obviously you get to explore, obviously playing multiple roles and things as well. So that's always been good. But I think the aspect of being a character in LARP and embodying somebody, and like what always strikes me is doing a lot of the mundane stuff, right? You're your character when you're eating. You're your character, like, and how you sort of turn that on and off, and how that affects the way you think and things. It's interesting.
A lot of that's improv as well, though, right? Like, God, we've already lost track of the question. It's talking about new, already existing skills rather than the metaphysical stuff. So
I think that though, a lot of this stuff is hard to tease apart from those things.
No, let's stick to like actual skills, okay? So I think like for you, crafting, public speaking, your ability to, I think both of us have learned to express ourselves significantly better in the last few years. It's tough as well, because like doing the podcast as well.
I think that is an element that I think will feed out through all of this. That there is the podcast goes hand in hand with LARPing and is part of it now, and it would be very difficult for me to separate the two because they are linked. And I think like I never thought I would say, for example, speak publicly or co-host a fashion show, and especially not in stuff that I had made, right? Like kit that I had made, and then all of a sudden I am this kind of quite flamboyant character, because I've always been a bit more of a wallflower.
You can learn crafting, but you can't learn taste.
Talus is fabulous.
I'm just, turn the volume down a little bit, pal. That's all.
I love it.
Okay. I think
your turn to draw.
My turn to draw. Let's have a wee little look. This little piggy right here. Okay. This is from Morgan Lilly. If your character died and you couldn't come back as Navarre, which nation would you pick? And Violet also asked a question which is fairly similar, which is, it's been a while since you and Ian have designed a character for Empire. If you had to design a new character to play tomorrow, who would they be? I think they have kind of similar questions.
Yeah. This is an Empire-specific question.
It is an Empire-specific question.
And I'm sure a fair few of these will be.
Not Navarre.
Yeah.
Who are they? What are you going to do?
I think I've toyed around with this a bunch, and I think I'm very interested by the Brass Coast brief. I find that very interesting. I think a lot of that's born out of the kit as well. I find the colours interesting, and creatively that's made me think about some of the things I'd like to make, and then the type of character that would spawn from that.
Yeah,
I'd love to do something that was very like, really bright, flamboyant kind of like oranges and golds and like flames, and a lot of that kind of colours essentially sort of birthed into it.
Well, if you've done that with Navarre, I shudder to think what you would do.
I'm thinking like really, really. I've got like an idea of something I want to do with like a sweeping kind of almost like a head sort of dress that sort of goes down into a back sweeping thing that I want to do. It's hard to explain, but yeah, there's some stuff ideas I've drawn up that I'd really like to do for Brass Coast. Cool. How about you?
Well, I hope you die soon. That sounds great. I'm very torn. I really like the idea of spending a weekend in Dawn, dressed in all my clank, and just put on a ridiculous French accent and just go mega for the entire weekend. Yeah. But I think I might fall in love with that character, so I don't know whether. But that's one thing I'd really like to do, just as a in the pocket character.
How would you think you would draw that away from being too much like the Dubois, or would you just lean into being like the Dubois?
It would be a different character. It's a bit like I played a couple of different characters that were nobles. In fact, one of them was we did it for the D&D thing, Sol, on the podcast. Yeah. So there's an episode that we did, the Gone to Daggerford episodes. Yeah. That character was similar to a character I did in a long-running D&D campaign called Teddy. But Teddy was significantly more likable and nicer than the character I played in the other campaign.
True.
So I feel like there would be some natural differences. Also, I think like I don't know, like the Dubois are really specific because they have like there's a lot of lore about them.
They're tied to the setting a bit more, right?
Also, I probably wouldn't be doing it with Callum, so therefore
that naturally changes it.
It's going to change a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I find a whole bunch of the different nations at Empire really interesting. Like Varushka I find interesting. Yeah. I find the Marchers really cool. Yeah. We have some really good friends in the League that would be really fun to get into. The whole League-ish thing would be really fun. Not that I have the kit or the I'd have to iron my stuff, and who wants to iron their kit,
I could see the League being like something that I'd go into at a different time. I think like Brass Coast and then maybe League. There's also a big part of me I'd be quite interested to do Imperial Orcs at some point. It's just a very different challenge. I think that would be quite fun.
Yeah, I am friends with a few Orc players. I don't know whether they necessarily interest me to play. I'd like interacting with the Imperial Orcs, but I don't know whether I want to put a mask on for the entire weekend.
I think that's the challenge that sort of puts me off. Is just I like being comfortable, so ultimately that would be probably the hardest challenge. But the brief and the type of character I think I'd like to play. I think I'd like to go like a healer, like a full on like healer bone setter.
I could see you doing
would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And having like quite practical but actually like quite nice kind of kit as an orc as well would be kind of nice as well.
Ridiculous.
That's
Yeah.
So about I draw?
Very curious about that. Yeah, sure.
It's from Phil Forrester. He said, "Who is the best LARP fighter out of the LARP noobs?"
Oh.
Maybe Bung.
It's really hard to tell because you don't do much fighting because you stay at the back with your bow and arrow.
Hey, that's fighting.
And every time I've ever seen you do a duel, it doesn't tend to go well for you. Whereas I know that you are actually better than you do.
That's a confidence thing.
But you don't do well when I've seen you fight.
Yes, I think the thing is, this is a weird thing. I think when I monster, I do. This is weird. This is very weird. I think this is an Ian thing that I have to kind of overcome. I find it actually like when I'm on the battle, or when I'm in the battles, or when I'm monstering, I find it easier. But when I'm put in a spotlight situation where it's like I have to fight publicly, I find it like it's I get like nervous, like how you do when you're doing a performance,
like a performance anxiety, you might say.
I very much get that, and it's like so. But I find when I do things automatically, and or if when I'm monstering and I'm kind of more anonymous, I find that very. I think there's a substantial difference between my frontline fighting when I'm monstering and any time that I've ever been Talus. I would say Talus has never fought as well as any monster that I've ever been.
Also, I think there's something to be said about, are we talking one-on-one fighting?
Yeah.
Or are we talking like battlefield awareness and how you navigate your way around the battlefield? Because the two things are very different.
They are very different. I would say raw fighting ability, I would say Bung. Probably.
I would say Bung, yeah, I think so too. I'm an extremely average fighter in all ways.
I think you're actually very good. I think actually, weirdly, I think you have a bit of performance anxiety with a bit of that as well. And I think that's mainly down to I think you've always had a thing about the way your mage armor is and your tool set. And I think that's always made you a bit nervous about actually getting stuck in.
I think the problem is, like, having played a mage and also getting killed with cleave.
It's made you gun shy, right?
Not wearing heavy, yeah, very much. Like, really, like, obviously, I haven't been able to do much combat this year because of my medical stuff. But
I think if you look at, say, some of your stuff at Northern Kingdoms, I think you've maybe fought better there than maybe you have at Empire, right? You've fought some pretty savage fights at Northern Kingdoms. You can ding dong when you want to, but I think Empire, the combat in it post IFAM has maybe got slightly into your head about what your capabilities are, especially with your physical.
It's also not part of what my game is.
Exactly.
Gellert, right? So, but it's like I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to say Bung.
I think
we both agree. Bung.
I think Bung.
Yeah.
I would bet on Bung.
He fights hard. He's good. He's good natured. He plays the game the right way, but he does kick ass on the fight.
Bung actually, just an aside, because I don't know where the rest of these questions are, but I just want to sing the guy's praises for a bit. He's been phenomenal this year.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get into this in retrospective over Christmas, but he's really just on so many levels. Just his game has
blossomed.
He has really been a star, and often necessarily when we're talking about our experiences going through the week, I mean, you talk about him a little bit, but like he's just been phenomenal all year.
Yeah. All right, next question. Out the hat of destiny. Okay, another one from Violet. Where do you see the hobby in 10 years' time? Oh my god, this is a big question to have early on. I could talk at length about this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think this is... I know where I'd like to see it. Change happens both slowly and very quickly, in my experience, in many different aspects. Mm-hmm. I imagine that a lot of things that are as they currently are will remain that way because of the systems and processes that are in place in doing them. It's very hard, especially to take Empire, just as because that's what I mainly play. When you have a ship which has many thousands of people on it, turning it in any direction is always difficult. And that's not a negative towards that at all. I
would say as a hobby, though, rather than just looking at Empire specifically, I think it's going to become there's going to be more of it. I think there'll be more systems out there offering different things. I think society even now is opening up to the idea of LARP in a significantly larger way. Mm-hmm. Like it's and that's thanks to things like D&D and other role-play games being a lot more popular, a lot more in the mainstream kind of... The idea of being a role player or playing Dungeons and Dragons or any of those things are significantly less... they're more accessible now than they ever have been, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even seen it, but LARP was like a feature in the latest Hawkeye TV show. I didn't see it, but so I don't know how well it portrayed it or anything like that, but...
We're still the butt of jokes.
Yeah.
But at least it's in the kind of the sphere of consciousness more.
Yeah.
And I think we all, as players and as organisers, have a responsibility to be be the good example of it,
Yeah.
right? Like be a great person who's interesting and fun and all the things that are not the stereotypes, and also enjoy LARP, right?
Yeah.
Like
you know what I found? I mean, obviously, like I talk about it a fair amount in just my day-to-day life with colleagues and friends and family and stuff. People are interested, and people they find it fascinating. I really don't get ridiculed or anything like that.
No.
I think like that's my own personal experience, but people who I've spoken to about it, some of them are actually quite interested in it.
Yeah,
you know?
I think there will be some LARPs will become significantly more professional. I think they'll the prices are going to go up on a whole bunch of them, and you're going to have a better experience as a result, a more of a professional experience. Like I'm going to be attending a couple of ones in Europe, at least double the price of what Empire is, over double the price.
Yeah.
But a significantly more bespoke experience. And so I feel like there's going to be more, and what we define as LARP is going to be a lot more widespread. I think it will be like there'll be corporate activity days where people LARP, maybe not how we view it, as in like the fantasy setting or whatever, but there'll be versions of this where people are playing characters, interacting within a story, and playing a game effectively.
I think that's very true. Actually, you already see that actually in a lot of corporate activities. I'm sure it'll be used in a lot of those kind of ways.
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it's a wonderful tool as well. So I think it's like there is loads of stuff that. Like on a mental health level that you could do that works very well. I don't know. I think that the possibilities are there's a lot, and I just feel like there's people out there who are developing systems, understanding game, understanding what people want with the changing dynamics and demographics, and are going to develop new things and develop in different ways. That's not to say that the existing LARPs that we have now are going to disappear. I think they'll continue to grow and be very successful. But in 10 years' time, I would like to see a variety of different options, right? Like, even if it's not called LARP, I feel like there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff out there, and people are getting turned onto it now, and that will continue to grow.
For sure.
I think like we kind of felt like we were coming into LARP on a wave, but now looking behind us, there's even bigger waves coming in, right? Like there's university societies. It's very, very popular. The mix between the ratio between men and women is significantly more balanced than it was, say, 20 years ago. It's a lot more inclusive. I feel like saving terrible things happening, which could happen, right? Like there's been some really bad stuff with a lot of very famous celebrity D&D people have gotten to all sorts of terrible things and stuff like that. And as long as we as a community try and keep our shit together and don't become terrible people, I think it will be great.
I think as more people get involved, and especially more creative people start delving into making LARPs and exploring the possibilities of crafting a LARP and the systems and so on involved, there's some really interesting ideas that I've seen put out there, and different LARPs that are sort of, and the premises behind those LARPs that have sprung up. I mean, you're going to one that would, for example, never appeal to me. You're going to it's like a Second World War
post-Second World War.
Yeah.
In Czech Republic, it's going to be like
intensely grueling, right?
It's 30 hours.
Yeah.
We get 2 4-hour blocks to sleep. Sleep deprivation is part of the game.
This doesn't appeal to me at all. But
no.
What I mean is that like these different experiences, and I suppose that's maybe even just a better way of expressing them, is that there's a lot of these things I think are going to be one-off experiences that you can be part of. I mean, maybe they'll run into longer games and stuff, but like there's a lot of this kind of stuff that I think will start to happen, like an opportunity to just test different ideas, like almost like one-shots. Like one-shot D&D campaigns or one-shot RPG campaigns, but turned into LARP.
Infrastructure's about this as well, right? Like Empire's looking at getting Profound Decisions, I should say, is looking to get their own site. Right? I know that like iLARP, they rent a site, and they down in Eversley, and they have a whole bunch of different LARPs there. Having good sites with lots of possibilities is another thing that's needed. And I can see all of this developing, right? Like but we'll see. I don't know. I'm excited.
I'm excited for the future. I think
I'm
it's an
excited.
interesting time to be LARPing, and I think in 10 years' time, it will be a more interesting time.
Dude, we've been doing this podcast for like 3 or 4 years now, and we're like the OGs of this stuff, right? There are people coming up now that are changing the game, and it's fucking cool. It's a really great time to be a LARPer, basically. Yeah.
It's great.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, this is from Ben Diamond. If the voice of the nation was harmed, how many milliseconds do you estimate it would take Navarre to be armed? I think we spoke about this once, like a while ago.
Gabby is a friend of ours. She's wonderful. She does she MCs songs and stories.
Yeah.
She's known as the voice of the nation.
Yeah.
She is precious to all of us. So very, very precious.
Yes.
Milliseconds is too large a
nanoseconds. It would be immediate.
Yes, like it would be.
It's. I mean, and the thing is, to even talk about this, like, I really hope nobody ever...
No, me too.
Because what an amazing character and player and a winning of the game, like, embodied by one human being.
She's an institution, and she's so nice and so lovely and just, like, a really great person.
Yeah.
And, like... I don't know if I should talk about this. I've had my medical problems over the years, and so has Gabby, but, like... Man, she's awesome. Strength of character, oozing with talent, just exactly what you want for that thing. So, to start waffling on, immediately, like, there's no, like, fuck no. I would tear the whole campsite apart. Like, you know.
Was it you? Was it you?
Yeah, doesn't matter. Put them on the body pile. We'll figure it out eventually. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let the labyrinth decide.
The labyrinth decide.
Right. Next question. A Phil Forrester question. Other than a good bed, what is the best thing for LARP camping? Great question.
Things that... I will talk about the things I've bought, because I think that's most useful. There are maybe things... Because obviously when you get part of a larger group and you can't start being able to share things, stuff changes. But I think one of the best things I bought was the awning.
Agreed.
The awning, we have this 3x3 meter awning that we set out, and it's a game changer. It just, the space it provides, as soon as we had it, people would, and this was before we joined the Entwined Paths, any of that, we had this fairly early on in us starting to play. Immediately people wanted to sit down at our camp. This goes slightly hand in hand with having seating, but even without seating, just having a roofed area, weirdly, even in good weather, provides a focal point where people come, will stand or sit and talk and engage. Yeah. I found it just changed the game so massively.
It's the trifecta, right? Like it's the fire, good seating, and an awning.
Yeah.
Is like, it doesn't matter what the weather's doing. You can all sit under there, stay warm, stay around the campfire, have a chat. It's a really good thing. Yeah,
those three things alleviate all the worries.
Yeah,
like they alleviate the worry of comfort, they alleviate the worry of weather, and they alleviate the worry of warmth. And when they're all combined, it's just phenomenal.
We had the absolute shit kicked out of us our first event, right?
Yeah,
like we were there in the mudpocalypse, right?
Yeah.
We had no fire, no awning.
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 changes of clothes.
Yeah.
We were drenched. We were cold. We
3
couldn't
to a
get
10.
warm. We were in a rough fucking spot, and it's like, I think that taught us the value of, oh my god, like a seat.
Yeah.
Oh, what a wonderful invention! Sitting your ass down that isn't a bed, and you get to like relax. It's so good. A comfy seat.
The amount of time on the podcast that I think I have mentioned seats is probably quite high. Like, I think
not enough.
Yeah, like for example, the Market having public seating, the Vershkin camp having public seating, different environments having public seating. It's actually surprising how important that is to your experience,
and they will come.
Yes, yeah. I mean, literally, and
in fact, fucking Wintermark.
Yeah.
Need some seating on that top hill area, like, because there's no seating up there. Man, if they put some seating out there, it would there'll be loads more people there. I think, as if people will come and sit down on the thing you put out, right? Like
the reality is, and this is just true. Like walking from A to B is actually quite a long distance. There's a lot of walking in a LARP event, and if you can offer someone a seat when they get to B, they will stay and they will talk, and you'll have a great time. So seating is a huge one, but for me, I think the awning was the real game changer. The best £90 I think I've ever spent, and like at LARP, it really did change everything.
I also think I have a very large bag. Like it's actually the bag that that MI6 guy allegedly locked himself in and died.
Yeah. This is like your LARP get up and go bag. Basically.
I love it. I just stick all my soft kit in there. It's really big, so you can't really you don't want to put heavy stuff in there, otherwise it's gonna be huge. But literally, everything goes in the giant bag. It goes on my shoulders. I walk out of wherever I am in one trip. It's absolutely awesome. So a really good big bag helps so much. I
mean, there's been a bunch of stuff, because I do a lot more, I guess, stuff that is more communal for the camp.
Yes, you do.
There's been a bunch of things along the way of doing that journey that I found that have been particularly good. I got these. It's like a plastic box essentially, which is like a garden box.
It's dark though.
It's dark, but I cover it over with frozen stuff anyway. But the point being that it's both a large garden box essentially that can store stuff inside it, and I got a cushion for it that then I can throw a thing over, so you can sit 3 people on it.
Yeah, it's really good.
And also use it as a big side table for the camp. That was £20, right, from Tesco's, and it's been amazing, right? That's really like little things like that. Originally, I used to take 2 of them, and they were really good, and I would take 2 if I could take 2, but it's just practically in the car, it's no longer viable.
It's too much, right? Like we're getting to the point where we need to start investing in vans and stuff, but honest answer though, camp beds. I know it's not part of the thing. Camp beds are the fucking tits. Yes. They're amazing. Yes. Get yourself a decent camp bed. It will change your life.
Comfort is all that matters.
Is it mine or yours, Nick?
It's yours, yeah.
Is it mine?
I'll go again if you want me to go.
You go. I think it's yours.
It doesn't matter. I don't.
Oh my god, how are we losing track already?
Hey. This is from Daniel Wild. Which franchise would you love to play a LARP based off?
Ooh,
it's a spicy one.
I have one immediately just popped into my head when you said that.
Okay.
Alien.
I've immediately thought of Alien as well. I think this has been because we're literally playing the Alien RPG right
it's
now.
So good.
It's so good, and the characters we're playing.
I love it.
Like it's wonderful.
It doesn't need to be constant full-on action. It's the world, it's the setting, it's the slow burn, the building, the paranoia. I love it, dude. I would
also, I don't know how you would do it, but I also wouldn't mind both and hear me out on this, a Predator one.
No.
But more importantly, a Highlander one would be really fun. Right? Like a gathering of immortals, and you literally you have to take either head. Would be so fun. Just be so funny.
Well, you go around stabbing each other, but it's like you can kill each other, but then actually killing someone by cutting their head off is a different thing. Yeah, I can get that.
That could be kind of funny, right? And especially if you go slightly more, and this is a very left field kind of reference. You go slightly more like Highlander the Raven, and you have so you not necessarily everyone is a Highland is an immortal, right? If you could make something really cheesy, really fucking 90s and hilarious, that would be quite funny.
There are loads of franchises that I would love to play. Jesus, like The Witch is awesome as a concept. So I just had one, I've forgotten it. I think I was disturbed by the idea of Predator, and guys being Predator would be whack.
Would be wacky, yeah.
That would be, but
I guess but again, the Xenomorphs would be a similar kind of thing. I like the vibe.
Because you don't need many, and I think there are.
But you don't need one Predator, right?
Yeah,
it's the same kind of thing.
But Predator, I can imagine wandering around in it, but a good horror LARP
Yes.
You're barely going to see that thing. And when you do,
think-
it will be dark and
Yeah.
full of flashing lights and
Yeah.
terrifying, right?
I like the idea, I suppose. What I would maybe do is leaning slightly more, rather than Alien or anything like that, I would maybe make it more like Event Horizon and have it so it's more like the cosmic horror slash...
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Like an H.P. Lovecraft thing would be really fun as well.
I think with the space element is kind of cool. Like you do something like the LARP that you're going to with the android stuff, and which is amazing. Doing
I don't know
essentially
if there will be androids there. I'm not sure.
or whatever, but the whole
yeah,
questions of like synthetics and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like the idea of the whole cosmic horror thing, like H.P. Lovecraft and Event Horizon and all that stuff, is that you can hand out like effects cards, and people can start going crazy and losing their marbles, and then have like by the time it comes to Saturday night, everyone's like licking the carpets and going crazy, right? Like
I saw a really cool LARP idea, or LARP, sorry, not idea, but a LARP that was posted, and I'm not interested in His Dark Materials really at all, but I saw this really interesting LARP that was His Dark Materials, and basically in that there's every human has a demon, which is like an animal embodiment of themselves that walks around, and the idea was that you both are essentially playing, you go as a pair, and basically one person plays as your demon, and is like an animal embodiment of yourself, and cannot leave a certain distance away from you. I found that as a really interesting concept, and the way that like humans and demons and demons and demons and humans interact is all very different. It's interesting, and the social dynamics I think you can create with different things like that, and just different franchises, and almost not necessarily even fully taking a franchise, just taking an element from a franchise is quite an interesting concept, you know.
I think the problem is like a lot of intellectual property. I think big companies need to switch themselves on to the fact that, like I know CD Projekt Red does let people do, well, at least Northern Kingdoms, right?
Yeah, I don't even know how that works. Like, is that a thing you have to get in touch with?
Have permission for it.
Yeah,
it's intellectual property, right? So you have to go and ask. Like, the idea of having a Star Wars LARP sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Disney ain't gonna the mouse ain't gonna fuck with that, right? The mouse should fuck with that, but they're not going to, right? So,
oh my god, imagine if you did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it's like you can play as a toon or you can play like as a real worlder. It'd be so funny.
Oh man, that would be really good.
Really wacky, right?
Yeah,
really wacky.
Good quality for that, and some really wacky rules.
Yeah,
it would be fun. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah,
right,
it's your turn.
I'll get into it. Right. Okay, who do we next? Another Violet question. What is something you haven't gotten a chance to do yet that you'd really want to experience LARPing? Interesting.
I think the obvious one for me is I haven't died, and that's not like I want to die or I want to do that necessarily, but I think
you just want a funeral, don't you?
I think there is something to be said for, like, I mean, the emotional experience of seeing you guys go through it and being part of it. I think it's a very interesting thing. It's not something I'm rushing to, and I think that's the thing. I think with something like that, I play Tellis completely like he wants to live, he wants to succeed in all those things, and if he dies kind of thing. But so I'm in no way rushing towards death, but I think it is it's an interesting aspect of,
I think, a little
being
bit
a character.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. A little bit of death does people a lot of good. I think there's something really fucking transcendent about playing a character you love and them dying, and then realizing the effect that it had on the world. Yes, I really think that death would do you a lot of good. However, don't know, murder him. He'll die in his own time. Eventually,
Talis will get himself killed. You don't have to worry about it.
Eventually, hopefully. It's just hard to kill archers. They're so they're miles away, you know.
Yeah. How about you?
Me. I don't know. When I read the question, a whole bunch popped into my head. I was like, winning an election against someone else running would be fun.
But then it doesn't even have to be Empire specific.
No, it's not. So... I think like I'm actually going to be hopefully achieving a lot of the stuff I want to. I've always wanted to go to European LARP, and just try out different systems, and I'm lucky enough to actually get to go to a couple. Yeah. I mean, my overdraft hates me right now, but it's something I'm passionate about and I really want to do, so therefore I'm going to take like a big financial hit and just do it anyway.
And now's the time of life, right? Like,
I just feel like now's the time, and I'm at that stage in my life where I've always wanted to experience other ways of looking at LARP and understanding it. I'd love to go to a Nordic LARP. Like, I think once I go to the ones in Europe, there's a few really good ones that I will have my eye on. Interestingly, like stuff like when we first started the hobby, it was stuff like Drakenfest was the big one, right? And this isn't saying that I don't want to go to Drakenfest, but like that's come down in my priorities because I want to have like really interesting pushing the boundaries experiences of where I don't know where I'm at, right? Like, and I think that the Nordic systems are very interesting, and I'd like to try some of that out. Like, that's another thing. Yeah,
I think the opportunity to go to for me again to fire in for a different answer would also be basically because of life. There's only a limited amount of times I can get away and go to LARP. That's just the reality of it. To go to a really cool bespoke LARP, for me, I think would be really good fun. I only really get to play at Empire. I love Empire. I adore it entirely. But listening to the experiences you've had at Northern Kingdoms, Blind Dogs, Flying Lead, all that kind of stuff, I would really love to go to one of these things. I was going to go to The Witcher this year, and I just wasn't able to make it. Yeah,
I feel very... I mean, like, I'm spoiled by the fact I get to go to these. Right?
So that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Right, let's see what we got. This is from Violet again.
Okay.
Best moment of all time LARPing. Oh. And we got to be brutal here. I want some all the times. I want what is the best moment. I think that's let's try and hone it down. It's a tough one. That's a really tough question.
I'm just like I'm having images through my head of all the good times that we've had. There's a lot.
Okay, I'm going to give my selfish answer. There is a non-selfish answer, but the one for me, I think, is the fashion show. Doing the fashion show was so good, and just like, actually, it's the moment just after the fashion show when we were all buzzing, and I got this massive adrenaline dump from it, and then I was so happy for everybody and for myself. I was so because I was super nervous going into doing that. I'd never done anything like that before. And it was also, it's not the kind of thing I necessarily thought would be the thing that would be the best thing I've ever done at LARP. But I think for me it was so transcendent because it showed all of the personal growth I'd had suddenly come to fruition and exhibited itself. You know what I mean? I had, for a period of 5 minutes, probably less, just been fully embodying this kind of character and being full on, unashamedly Talis, don't care what anybody else thinks. That was such an empowering feeling, just to walk away from that moment, and to live in that moment, just living off everybody else's excitement and my own excitement. I'd been looking to talk to and go to the Looking Glass all of this time, and then I didn't even realise the people I was talking to and I was buzzing to were the people from the Looking Glass, for example. You know what I mean? Because I was so excited.
Swoon of the year?
It would be ridiculous, but no. It's you know what I mean. I think that would be my selfish answer. My unselfish answer would probably be probably the Navachas doing really well. And again, that is slightly me, but just
this is your experience, dude.
I think I actually weirdly I've not personally been that combat effective this year in the same way. I've not done an amazing shot or say anything, but I took on a leadership, a martial responsibility.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing, right? Yeah. Are you saying a general isn't responsible for his army winning, or a director isn't responsible for the actors before? Dude, you're doing the you're stepping up to that position. I see the pride that you have in that. I think that's like,
it's been
so
huge,
great,
and also the way that everyone else is galvanized into it, and like building something, and this kind of feeds slightly into the Into My Past and into actually the Ashbourne as well. I think I've been immensely proud of everything you've done. It's not
the question, Ian.
But anyway, all of that was massive. So weirdly, and there's such different aspects of who Talis is, and that's what I love about being Talis, right? Mm-hmm. I get to do both of those things, and they have both been so fulfilling and so rewarding. I get to see this amazing group of players go out on the battlefield and kick ass and do really well.
Get honoured in dispatches.
Just amazing, right? Absolutely, that's an incredible feeling, right? And then I get to do a very kind of like, working with Hazel and just absolutely having an amazing time. It was so good.
Doing the fashion show.
Yeah, doing the fashion show was incredible. How about you?
I have a few. It's really difficult. Like, my death as Ifan was fucking. I couldn't have asked for a better death. That was insane. Like all the different set of events that happened as a result of that, dying in front of the Coctopus, all of that.
Yeah. It's interesting
amazing.
How present I think that has been through like almost like a light switchy Yoni moment in LARP that has been for you. In everything it was, I think it's going through LARP. It was really
not to dwell on death of a character too much, but it was like I didn't realise who Ifan was until he died, and then when he died, I was like, "Holy shit!" It had a really big effect. I think Antonio and my relationship at Flying Lead was something so incredibly special, and that whole narrative was so beautiful and tragic. That was amazing. I also this is kind of it's LARP related, and this is really bad, but I want to talk about it now. We've never talked about the LARP Awards really on here.
Yeah,
we won it this year, last year. Yeah. Not this year coming up, but obviously last year. Walking up on stage with you, buddy, collecting our award, meeting Sir Ian Livingston, who had written all the Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Choose Your Own Adventure books.
And that was so special for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm taking that to the grave of me, of how proud I was as us to go up there and this community of people listening to us and everything else that goes along with that.
Yeah.
It was... Because we won it the year before, but it was COVID...
Yeah.
So we didn't get to go, and I was on a Zoom call, and I was still racked with imposter syndrome and a bunch of other stuff, and I couldn't enjoy the first time we did it, right? And I should have done. But I felt bad for people that didn't win it, and it was really bad. But last year was something really it felt amazing. It really meant the world to me. I'm gonna say that. I think that's possibly.
I hadn't thought about the question that way. That's very true, and I think I will still stick with my answer.
No, I think you should.
But I think that is a really. I hadn't actually thought about that aspect of it, and it's very true.
I don't know if that is in the remit of that question or not. Okay. But I don't know. I've never had a chance to talk about it. So
out of those other two things that happened. I see, if you like, at LARP. Which would you put first? Oh, I've got a real nail down here, guys. I'm going to put him on the thumb screws.
I don't know. My death was epic, and it's a great story.
Yeah.
It's a great story. But the feelies I had for Antonio, a guy I'd never met before that had gone into that weekend, and the narrative that we had
it all spawned off one weekend, right?
Yeah, one weekend, and I love a good narrative. I love a good tragedy. I love all of that and how everything fitted together so perfectly. The end of the weekend when he was obviously jumping out the bushes, having gone to the crew and just killing us all, probably not how I would have ended that.
Yeah.
But all of that, really precious to me. Yeah. Really precious to me. Amazing. So is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Okay. God, there's a lot to go.
There's a lot to go. Buckle in, everybody.
Woo. Okay, cool. Violet again. Do you have any LARP regrets? Not really.
No.
I don't.
Look, there's lots of things. For example, I wish I had played as hard as I do. Well, and the thing is, I don't even play that hard. But I wish I had. I wish I was where I am now then. But the reality is that's not how it works.
I think.
You know what I mean?
I think regrets are a funny thing in life and LARP.
Yeah.
I like to think of them as a learning experience, right? Like, and I think there's an awful lot of stuff where, like, when I didn't put my hand up when they all said, "Is Ifan here?" When they were asking for someone to step up as like a sergeant or whatever, I didn't put my hand up.
Yeah,
that sticks with me even to this day as something I wish I'd done that.
A really good learning experience for you. I think that actually, weirdly, that might be one of the most pivotal moments in your entire time playing. Right?
It woke something up in me. Like it taught me so much about who I was and a bunch of stuff and negative stuff about like self-confidence and all of that stuff. And then to be like, I feel like I've kind of come out of that and learned just a huge amount about it. So I don't regret it happening because I've learned a lot from that experience. I do regret swallowing the blood pill at Northern Kingdom.
As you should, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, if someone puts a little capsule in your mouth when you die,
amazing. That was so
bite
good.
down on that. Don't just swallow it down.
Oh god, that's so funny. I listened back to it and I was just like, oh my god, it really is as stupid as it sounds.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Oh, so good.
Did you come up with one? Or did you just not have any regrets?
I honestly, similar to you. I think you can fixate on your own performance, and I certainly do, in so many aspects of my life. I think what I've tried to create for myself at LARP, and I hope that Talos' embodiment of this actually is actually just freedom from that for a little bit for myself. It's a little bit hedonistic, but I actually don't view it that way. I think other people view it that way. I view it as a real a freedom from the constant woes of regret and worrying about life, and a freedom.
An interesting point, actually.
You know what I mean?
Because life and regret can stick to you. It's one of the nice things about LARP and roleplay in general is you can often let that go, right? Like, we haven't made any big boo-boos or gaffes. Like, hopefully not. If you're listening to this and you're like,
those fucking guys. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, dude. I just I try not to let too much stuff run with me outside that happens in there, because for me, LARP is primarily my holiday.
Yeah, I think all the bad stuff has just been like, or negative stuff. Stuff has been a wonderful learning experience. So let's move on. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Violet.
Yeah. Violet again. What is the most outrageous idea for a LARP you've ever heard?
Oh my god, I've got one.
Yeah.
When I spent time in hospital, I've got private medical cover.
Okay.
And then my boss told me, you can get 200 quid per day you're in hospital or whatever, okay?
Right.
So I was like, no way. I applied and got, despite my 12 days in hospital or whatever it was, they were like, yes, we'll give you money for each day that you're in hospital, right?
Right.
So I got the money. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with this, right? Then someone was like, why don't you do a Dave LARP?
Oh my god, I know this, and this is immediately my answer, by the way.
Yeah. Everyone gets a Dave mask, okay? And you have to act like Dave, okay? And then throughout the weekend, you are spontaneously given injuries, which you then must have to play the rest of the weekend with. They happen at any point, and you can just be like, oh, your back's gone, you have pneumonia, okay? Like, whatever it is, your knee's gone, okay? Whatever it is. And then every couple of hours, a horn sounds, and then we hunt Ian in the woods.
Yeah.
Ian is followed by a bagpiper, so he can't hide. He has to stay near the bagpiper, so we always know where he is at all times. And then we have to get up to him and give Ian a hug, and that's how you win the hunt.
And there was like a there was a weird twist where it was like Ian is wearing Ian is wearing a Dave mask and Dave is wearing an Ian mask. It's really weird, right?
And I was like, I thought this was so funny, and I was just like, oh my god, I don't think I could hack seeing people being me, or maybe I would, and either
Yeah.
Either is horrifying.
It's like a nightmare LARP.
But you know, like being John Malkovich, where everyone's John Malkovich,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think it would be,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe if I win the lottery and I'm feeling deeply, deeply self-involved, I'll invite.
That's like the darkest timeline.
I'll like invite
Yeah.
some of the best LARPers in the world, and we will do a Dave LARP.
I think it's your go, bud.
That's your answer.
That is the most outrageous. That is, gosh, that's a terrible indictment of what we are.
Okay, cool. This is from Jonathan. I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Radovanovich, which is a fantastic surname. Radovanovich.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. It rolls off the tongue. I need a character called that. Right. In which LARP in the world would you most like to attend, and why? Do you have any plans on attending that LARP? Do you want to go?
It's difficult for me because the reality is, as I've said before, logistically it's difficult for me to get away to other LARPs. I think I would love to do a big Nordic LARP, but I think actually before then I would probably just like to do something like Flying Lead or Northern Kingdoms or something of that ilk. And I'm afraid this is a bit of a vague answer, just simply because I haven't actually cast my own net that wide, simply because I don't have the ability nor funds to do any of these things.
Yeah, I've like we were saying earlier, I've got one in Spain coming up next year. That looks fucking crazy. We're going to be like on a spaceship. We're going to give it a uniform, sleeping pods.
Yeah.
It's going to be insanely cool. I can't wait to go to it. And I've pulled the trigger on that. Like I
would love to do that.
I'm deep into my overdraft, but like I have to do it. Like now's the time. So I think like we were talking about earlier, I would love to do a North American tour. Like, you know that big one that's in Canada? I can't remember its name.
Yeah. Brickoline or whatever.
Whatever that one's called. That would be really fun.
Yeah.
Just to have a whole different vibe of what's going on. Like, fuck, I would love to just tour the world, going to different LARPs. Go to a Japanese LARP, go to there are guys that listen to us in Australia, and I've checked their stuff out, and it's like they've got like an Empire type game. Just doing a world tour, attending different LARPs, meeting new people, experiencing different systems, different cultures of LARP.
Oh, to be rich, right?
Oh my god, I don't know. Like, all I spent my money on was flights and LARPs, and the rest I wasted. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would be how I would operate as a millionaire. Like,
so
I would love it. I don't know whether that answers your question. But it's.
I'm afraid it's difficult because it's kind of like you have to. I purposely try not to look at too many because I fear that my wallet cannot sustain how wide my eyes would go.
Like, we were just looking at a LARP yesterday. That's it's an €890 LARP. It's a week in Spain riding horses in a Wild West town.
Yeah,
it looks outrageous, insane. And so, but like, I can't look at it. I can't look at it. It's like it's too much, you know. Yeah.
I mean, all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got another one from Violet. Thank you very much. Worst moment of all time laughing. Wow, this is I think I think again, I actually have not had very many bad LARP experiences. I would say there is definitely, though, something to be said for being at the Mudpocalypse, extremely wet and done. It actually, weirdly, you know, when you kind of reach those levels of like discomfort, where you're kind of just laughing about it because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah,
and it got to that stage where
we loved it, though.
We did love it. It was, but I would say there were parts of that. There were parts, and you know how your memory blots out these moments.
Yeah, I think like this is true with so many things in life. Sometimes the hardest times in your life, given a bit of time, become some of the best memories that you can have.
Exactly.
I agree. The Mudpocalypse was
very challenging.
Awful.
There were bits where I was super cold and very uncomfortable.
Oh, so damp.
But I was blessed with being around amazing people at an amazing place.
To experience Empire for the first time.
So, yeah, all of it, right?
To see Pod singing.
Incredible.
Really, really good. I would say when I lost the election for the Jarm role, that hit me on a bunch of different ways. I was really bummed out about it. And, like that was, like, a low ebb. But then, I don't know. Like, good storytelling needs a bit of that.
Yeah,
right?
I think, again, for me, there was the moment where I had the whole stuff where I didn't take the thing that you'd done that well with
when I made pornography about you.
Yeah, and it's like, actually, there's a lot of character growth, both personal and I see that's come off that. That's all been amazing. But at the time, that first, like, 5 minutes was tough.
Yeah. But it's interesting, like, just to caveat all of that, though, like, I feel like both of us were, like, I hope we're these sort of people.
Yeah.
Learning from adversity, overcoming it, letting it, like, be a learning process and something that you can grow from, I think is really important.
And also the understanding that growth takes time sometimes as well. I think, like, and not, like, absolutely demolishing yourself, which I've done so many times in my life when I've made an error or I haven't immediately grown in response to a situation. Like, actually, like, there's a lot of reconfiguring of the puzzle of what it is to be you that you're constantly doing for your life. And I hope I've learned to be a bit more forgiving of myself throughout doing a lot of this.
Yeah, we all make mistakes and we all get emotional. It's
your response, right?
Exactly, and how you come back from that.
And the character of your response.
Definitely.
And I think when I see people who exhibit a desire to improve in the right kind of ways, I'm impressed.
Okay. Another one from Daniel here. Goals for the next few years of LARP. I'm up for re-election in the next summit. I would like to get re-elected.
It's kind of weird. You started doing this thing, I'm like, well, maybe I won't go, maybe I won't run again. You're doing the very Dave thing where you kind of, you do this all the time, by the way. It's a massive Dave tell. When Dave ever says, oh, I don't really think I'm going to do this, he wants to do the thing, ultimately.
I'm just trying to, like...
You're kind of softening your own landing. I get it.
I think, like...
I think that's something you're slowly growing out of as well, a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think, like... I don't mind if I lose.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just want the thing is, I'm so invested in the job now.
Sure.
I basically, I want it to be someone good.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be me.
Yeah.
I just want someone that's going to do a good job, who's going to treat it with care.
Yeah.
Like, my worst nightmare would be someone that doesn't give a shit. And then everything...
Yeah.
All the walking, all the buggering about is all for naught.
I think you want to see someone essentially, even if they take the game in a different direction to you.
I'll caveat that. They don't have to be good at whatever that means. They just need to care. Yeah. Right? That's all I mind. So I'd love to get re-elected, but like it's certainly not going to hit me like not getting elected the other time would. I learned from that experience, and now I'm ready to do something else with it. Like Gellert. Oh my god, that's a Freudian slip, wasn't it? That was a Freudian slip, wasn't it?
Hey, we've been calling for a little bit more Ithan and Gellert.
Oh, there is.
It's been a little bit more of the fire's been growing.
I don't know. Like, I love playing.
I'm
Gellert.
looking forward to you getting back on the battlefield. That's one thing I am looking forward to. Like Gellert getting back on the battlefield. I think that it's like because you've had a tough time, and I think that will actually, for you, Dave. I think stepping out for that first time, hopefully next year, actually taking on the role of being Gellert on the battlefield for you, I think will actually be really good. I'm looking forward to you doing that.
I agree. I think I think I'm at a stage now where I love playing a diplomat. I love it. It's really fun. It's given me so much game and so much like interest.
Amazing.
Like I was watching The Rings of Power. Yeah. And I fucking love what's his face, the elf guy. Shouldn't have brought it up if I can't remember the name.
Who are you talking about?
The guy that goes off and he's friends with the dwarf.
Oh, Elrond.
Elrond. All of that, love it. And I've got like a big soft spot for the idea of being a diplomat and what that means to be a diplomat. You're not like necessarily a politician. You're trying to do your best given all of the rest of the repercussions around you. And I love my job. Like it's been a really hard year. I've made mistakes. I've had my balls have been booted all over that field, but I love it. So I would love to do another year. I won't stand for a third year. you can quote me on that. Not standing for a third year. I think I'm actually like a big fan of the idea of doing a role for 2 years and no longer. That's kind of how I feel about how I would like to do Empire.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think it's more like, also, I don't know what I'd do otherwise. I don't know.
Yeah. I think this is where my answer is kind of strange, because I've found things I really enjoy doing. So my answer's kind of boring. I want to do more of them and I want to do it better.
Yeah.
But I think that's because also I'm very new to finding the things that I've really started to enjoy. The performance role of being Talus has been transcendent in many ways for me. And discovering what it, like, being a bit more of a spectacle's maybe the wrong word, although maybe it is the right word, and allowing myself to enjoy that has been definitely a thing, and I would love to do it more and more successfully, whatever that would mean. Yes, just that.
I feel you. I love that answer. Is it me? Or
It's
you
me.
now?
It's me.
How many have we got left in there? Oh
We've still got a bunch to go, guys.
So many in there.
Hey, we've got a long night tonight.
Oi.
Oi! This is from Daniel. What part of the hobby has surprised you? How much you enjoyed it?
Ooh. What do you think? I think the people and how awesome the community is because before we went, that was my big hang up. There was that I was going to go to a field and it would be a field full of weirdos and arseholes and I wasn't going to have a good time. And
I don't think I wasn't necessarily concerned so much about that. I was actually weirdly more insecure about myself. And there's one of the things I dislike the most about nerds is when you meet the kind of nerd who wants to be the biggest nerd in the room and essentially puts everybody else's nerddom thing and pulls rank on you on your nerddom.
Some nerds are still awful. Some nerds cannot handle having nice things. Okay, they want to hoard power and wealth and inflict it on other people. Right. However, the vast majority of the community are like the people I've met have been like. So many of my good friends now are LARPers, and I would have never had the opportunity to meet them if I had not gone to LARP, right? So, and my friends are so precious to me, and I feel absolutely blessed to have those people in my life, right?
Yeah, so, I think I was worried. I was actually, there was a lot of performance anxiety, I suppose, in what it would be, because I like to do role-playing quite well, if I can, but there's a whole other kettle of fish involved in actually physically performing something out and doing that. And I guess I was worried maybe that like that would be a thing that would be quite an uncomfortable experience. Yeah. But actually when I started doing it, and I've grown into the aspect of doing it and I've allowed myself to enjoy it, it's a bit like ritual magic.
Role play seems hard until you do it. And then it becomes way more natural than you ever thought it would be, right?
And I think it's the act of also performance stuff, right? The idea of, like, for example, I mean, we've played a bunch of like D&D and role playing stuff before then, so it's not necessarily role playing is new to us. It was more the idea of embodying some of that myself and physically appearing as a character,
but around other people. Because when you're playing around the tabletop,
they're your friends.
Usually playing with friends. I know that's changed a bit, like, and some people have different setups where they might be invited to a table with people they don't know and a bunch of other stuff. But generally, like, you're in the wild, you don't know who you're going to interact with. I just things that I've found surprising. The battles. How crazy they are! Like the stuff, the stuff I've seen has blown my mind. The creatures and monsters that you bump into,
the things you do. That's the other thing. Like the things that I have done in LARP, are so outrageous that like firing an arrow and hitting a thing, or being like the co-host of Fashion Show. These are things that are so alien from what Ian would, especially like Ian a few years ago, would ever have thought you know what I mean? We're even within the wheelhouses of experience that you can have. And obviously it is through a lens of LARP, but it is...
We limit ourselves with the masks that we wear every day, right? And it's I think that's one thing, you surprise yourself because you're so used to wearing your day-to-day mask that when you have the opportunity to do something in a different environment as a different character, that you can surprise yourself by how fucking awesome things can be, right? So
actually, another weird answer tied onto this podcast is one of those things. I didn't realise how important this was going to be and how massively tied to my own sense of growth this was going to be and how enjoyable it actually is. Like, we've spoken, and you've probably heard this, dear listeners, as you've been going through this, a bunch of times we've been like, are we going to keep doing this? Is this going to be a thing for that we're just going to keep going? And we're still really loving it.
Yeah.
I really genuinely love doing this.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one, actually, because I don't know, like, my idea of what success is, what I make that's good is, has changed a lot through doing this.
Yes.
And it's like, I love the process of making this. I love the community that we have that support the podcast. It's like, I love what it means to people, right? Like, it's so surprising.
Each aspect of it is rewarding, right? I get to sit down with my best friend and we have a cracking time. Like, this is enjoyable. What we're doing right now is enjoyable. And then we get to go through the process of releasing it. And there's always the excitement of, like, putting it out. When you get it out, I'm always super excited. And then just having that as part of this kind of wider discourse is amazingly rewarding.
I loved how we've got to do whatever we want, like the dramatized intros and outros, making videos, charity giveaways. Oh my god, this year the charity giveaway is going to be fucking insanely good.
So good.
December 1st, come to our Facebook group. It's going to be fucking crazy. You are going to want to be part of that. It's very exciting.
It's exciting, dude. Really
genuinely exciting.
Yeah. When I heard it, I was very excited.
Yeah. So, December, come back. We'll look at it. Is it me?
Yours. It's your go.
Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Ben Diamond. Is Goose Whisper a great thing? And why is having visions of a naked man riding a dolphin the best?
I said, when I saw this question, it's one of the few I responded to, I said, I feel like I'm being personally attacked by this question.
I don't know what you're talking about.
For keen-eared listeners, they will be aware that when I first sampled the Goose Whisper,
which is a drug at Empire,
brewed by yours truly.
Did you make it?
Yeah, dude.
I think I was with like
So
Heisenberg over here.
Say my name.
Say my name. I'm Knox.
Yeah. So when I first did that, I decided. And I think actually, in retrospect, this has kind of been an interesting thing. I decided, you basically give them this bag, okay? And inside this bag are just sheets of paper. And they're all different sizes. And I decided I would take the biggest sheet of paper.
Obviously.
And assuming, obviously, the biggest dump of words and the most ridiculous thing would be on it. And indeed, it was ridiculous. It was this tale about a naked man essentially riding a dolphin, jumping aboard this ship, and it just kept repeating different sort of elements being added each time.
It was like...
And I got
sexy
to deliver...
dolphin fever dream, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got to deliver this, and I guess... I hadn't actually really thought of it this way. This, going back, was the first time I had ever performed anything at LARP. It was essentially recounting this story.
I haven't thought about that.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it was the
true.
first time... Because this was quite early on. It was the first time I'd ever actually, as Talis, who was pretty much Ian, stood up and been like, you've got to hear this crazy story that I had.
How happy you were.
Yeah.
Like, you were so chuffed to bits.
I was like the centre of attention for a little bit, which was for me very different.
God, man, how time has changed, Ian. How time has changed. Great question. Goose Whisperer is the best because you might get married to a wonderful man. So,
amazing.
Is it you, Ian?
Yes, I think we'll say it's me. Yeah. We'll say it's me. Okay, this is from Ellen. You find some very pretty feathers on the trods and sell them for some fancy quills. It turns out they were changeling's feathers that had molted off. Is this theft? Now, I would say perhaps this is a very enterprising changeling who has decided he would set up like a purposeful kind of like double ruse, where it gets you in trouble and they can benefit off it with a later contract violation, or if it's just a shedding, if my hair falls out and someone happens to pick it up on the road.
This is all very dependent on where you find said feathers,
yes.
Isn't it really? Like, are you going into someone's house?
Yes.
And stealing them?
How's it worded? This is a leaguish player, so we have to read correct. Yes.
Oh, some legal problems with this already.
I know. I'm sweating. This is
I'm going with no.
I'm going with no, actually, but with the caveat of circumstance is
there
important.
Are circumstances. I say if you are the sort of person that leaves your feathers around and you are unable to locate where the owner of the feathers, then...
Possession is like this.
I know. But then I was just thinking, what happens if you found a coin purse? Is that theft? And I would feel that if someone found my coin purse, because I'm notorious for thinking I've lost my coin purse. I think I've lost my coin purse regularly.
You are regularly seen just patting yourself down.
Oh my god!
You do this whole kind of there's this almost this ritual, and you can guarantee that wherever Gellert checks last is where the coin purse is.
It's definitely in one of my pockets or a bag. I have too many pockets and too much shit in my bag. And if someone stole my coin purse, I would be like. Found it and took all the money out, I'd be like, motherfucker stole my shit. So, but then, and effectively, I'm malting my coin purse when I think I've lost it. Very interesting.
Spicy.
Very interesting.
Very spicy.
Let's move on, Ellen. I think you can find Talus and hold him to the fire about that one. Another Daniel question. Best purchase you've made that's made your life easier at LARPing. Daniel, I think we've answered that.
Yeah, I think with the awning and the camp bed is the obvious one.
Camp bed. Fisherman beds are
Here's
amazing.
A different way. That's just to make it different.
Yeah, go
best icy purchase, like something for your in-character, like not a comfort thing purely.
Okay, for comfort.
Not for comfort. Just for
aesthetic. It's got to be my magical rod from Gnosis Studio. Like it's so beautiful. It turns heads.
Yeah.
People stop and talk to me about it.
Yeah.
I had a weapons checker. Literally, when he handed it back to me, he said to me, "This is the most beautiful LARP weapon I've ever seen." But he didn't say it in a flurry type way. He said it in such a matter of fact way that it was just. It is fucking glorious.
It's gorgeous. I when you first showed it to me, I was blown away. I think it just adds such an element. It adds a little extra pinch of whatever spice that is to what it is to be Gellert.
It makes me feel like an ambassador.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I'm in the role.
There was this amazing thing, and you'll probably disagree, but I just thought it was hilarious. When you got this and you were wearing this, Callum, who played Sinwig at the time, said that it was talking about this kind of Ashbourne flaw, this fatal Ashbourne flaw, where we all have this thing where we can't resist having something a little bit fancy, and he's like, "This is how it begins," and then he pointed over at me, and he was like, "And that is where it ends."
So good. It's a great joke.
It was so good.
I'm never falling to the dark side like you.
But it's for you. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, but I also have to mention Robert and his shield, my Ashbourne shield. My niece actually, it was in the boot of my car, and my niece made me carry her to my car and wanted just to and there was all my stuff in the back, and it was funny. She was like, "Why do you have a sword and shield?" She's 5, by the way. She was like, "Why do you have a sword and shield in your back?" I'm like, "Oh, I fight dragons for a living." Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yeah. Have you ever seen a dragon?" She's like, "No." And I'm like, "Exactly." Yeah. Right? And so she felt the shield and was like, "Why is it soft?" And I'm like, "It's because it's for fighting dragons, not people, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why it's soft, right?" And she said, "Oh, that's a burning tree on it." And I don't know why this filled my heart like to the brim for my love of the Ashbourne and the shield and everything else, because like she was drawn to the symbol and it was just really fucking cool. So I also love that. So I'm going to cheat and say 2 things.
That's
both
fine.
of them are fucking
That's
amazing.
fine.
But like the fanciness of the rod, The people love looking at my rod. They love touching my rod. They love handling my rod. Most people ask before they touch my rod, and I'm usually quite okay
quite
with
thrilled.
people. Yeah, if you wanna come up and have a feel.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's a stunning thing.
Yeah. How about you, bud?
It's tricky. I think the obvious answer is the cloak that was made for me by Armchair Armories by Andy. Is so extraordinarily exquisite.
Yeah.
And it just
they're so talented.
It just tips it over the edge of like the skills that I have, and then the skills that I like, and I it's just eye opening just to see some it's just an outrageous display of skill.
Oh, I want to mention the badges that we got from Armchair Armory as well, that Matt designed and made for us.
Yeah.
They're something really special.
I agree.
Having people having the badges and being part of like us is really fucking cool. Anyway, let's keep going.
Keep going. You'll go.
Is it my go?
It is.
Go for it. All right, cool. Another Violet question. Come on, Violet. There's too many questions here.
We love it.
What is a good character design for a new player starting out in the hobby? That's a fucking great question, to be fair. Really good question. I think there are pitfalls you can fall into. This goes for most role-play games. I think playing antisocial, like edgy characters is very difficult for a new player. You can end up quite isolated and not get to do it. I also think secrets that you're not going to share that drives your character are not worth having. If you're gonna have a secret or something like specific secret about your character, have it something that drives your game and is open about it. So there are two things I would say that are really good pitfalls that you can fall, like bad pitfalls you can fall into, that you should try and avoid.
I would agree with both of those. In fact, I actually literally have nothing to add there. I think they're the two things that will stymie your enjoyment the most. And I would encourage new players not to do that. There are definitely ways to do these things, by the way, later when you have more experience.
Or you're in a friendship group and
all that sort of stuff.
I totally agree.
I've seen it done very well. But it's not something, even if you feel that you're very confident, I would recommend that you go as your first LARPing character.
I would say good things for character design. Actually, I want to expand on this a little bit. I have a bit of a process when I come up with characters where I like to try and flesh out my characters in my mind a bit. I leave at least 40% of the character for the field to discover who they are, because when I'm playing the character, things will come out. But I also like to try and say, for example, Hennessy Jones, my flying lead character. I watched Tombstone. I got into that mindset. Who do I want to be? How do I want to interact with the world? Who is Hennessy Jones? Why is he here? You don't need to answer all these questions, but generally having an idea. So for Hennessy, for example, one of my rules in my head was, whatever happens, I'm not going to back down. Okay? If I'm interacting with a player or an NPC, I will never back down. If they want to escalate, I will always escalate to where they are. I won't try and push the issue, but I'm never going to back down. Like little things like that are like really nice to center you and make you understand where you are, because to navigate with stuff, Okay, cool.
I think having it never hurts to have a good little brief read of the lore of the system that you're in. And just seed in a few things. Attach yourself to something. Have something in the lore that you can be keyed into. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to read everything, but just finding that one little tidbit. For example, with Empire, but this is true of all the other systems, really. If you find that one little thing that sounds interesting in the lore and you're like, I want to be involved in this thing, just get yourself the knowledge of that thing, turn up with it, talk about it. It's a good time.
Also, new LARPers, don't get married to your first character. That, like, if they die, they die. If they change, they change. It's a new experience for you. 100%. Go easy on yourself. Don't set up something so elaborate that you can't, like, you feel too much pressure to try and land it. Get comfortable. Experience the world. Okay, cool.
100%. So Phil comes in with another question. Which barbarian nation is the best to monsterize?
Oh, it's a great question.
It's a great question. Now, again, this is Empire specific.
I'm going to say not the Jotun.
Not the Jotun.
Because I hate playing the Jotun. They're so fucking boring.
I actually, you know what? I do. No, I know you are joking, but what I don't mind playing the Jotun. I think though it has to be the Druge, probably. Out of the ones I regularly get to play, and like the Grendel's good fun as well. And we obviously don't get to play as a Thule at the moment.
I have had some of my best times monstering as the Grendel, the Lickers. I know PD probably don't like the Lickers.
Yeah.
We had a great time. Again, very dependent on our commander, Captain Longtongue.
Yeah.
Legend crew member.
Yeah.
Love that man. Not all crew commanders are equal. Some of them are fucking incredible, and I would follow that man to the gates of hell, and with a smile on my face, knowing that all of us are going to go there together
and achieve great things.
Just love it. You know what I mean? Like, Druge. Love the Druge.
How about this though?
Go on.
How about a little bit of Valorn to tuck in there?
Oh,
now, when you get the chance to play as a Valorn, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I have had when I got to Monster, and this is the thing, I got to be like a big oogly boogly at the player event we went to as the Valorn. That was some peak fun right there.
But even your husks, like. I've been to a few player events, and I took some pictures at it was the Erie Light event that Tom and Caitlin and Phil put on.
Same one, yeah.
No, they're the more recent one.
Okay. Yeah.
They weren't actually Valorn. They were whatever husk. I actually got that wrong in the episode.
Yeah.
Whatever they were, some sort of husk. The crew, all right, lads. They come in, and everyone starts going like walking around, stumbling around. And it was just so atmospheric and so cool. And then when they activated and started fighting. Amazing, terrifying for the players, really, really good. And afterwards, I was just like, that was brilliant. And they were just like, oh yeah, there's so much fun. And it's just like really good playing a zombie type character that's kind of scary and can fight at the same time.
Yeah.
Really
it
cool.
was really fun being something when I was the bigger thing, where it was like could actually throw some real heat down. Again, and this is not a barbarian nation or anything to play as. When I got to be the Leaf Man, now that was a real experience.
I think that counts as NPC work.
That definitely counts as NPC work. That was amazing.
NPC work is really good, but I'm going to go Druge.
I'm going to go Druge. I think Druge is the best answer.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's you.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many we got?
We're cracking through.
Where there are more questions in the pile than there were. Okay, Elliot Goddard. What's better, songs or stories? Yeah.
Now look, if you're really going to hold my feet to the fire on this,
go on.
I think I will go, and it will probably be
the look of pain on his face right now is incredible.
It will probably be
go on
songs.
Yeah,
simply because there are some songs that are more audience participatory than stories. Where when those times where, for example, in songs and stories where you get to stand around the fireball, thrusting your weapon back and forth, that sounds very, very weird. But when you get to be,
dude, I've been dropping innuendos all episode, so it's fine.
Like that is incredible, right? But having said that, when someone comes in with an amazing story, when you hear the story of Killane, and you're like, this is some masterful work.
A master storyteller is something else. I'm actually going to, as a storyteller myself, I'm actually going to agree with you. I actually think if out of the two, I think I had an argument. So I went to film school and it wasn't even an argument, it was a discussion with a friend of mine who was a music guy. He made music, a little bit long stuff. And the way he talked about music was music is like a direct line to emotion, and you fill it up with your imagination. Good storytellers do this as well, but I think there's something about our relationship with music, rhythmic drumming, all singing as a group, some weird tribal magic shit happens, and songs can be amazing. Like group singing, a person singing on their own, a lament or something like that can make me cry. Stories can make me cry, but like, I don't know. I feel like maybe songs just tips it a little bit, a tiny bit,
but with a massive caveat of I adore good storytelling, and there's something when you hear someone stand up and tell a story. And it pricks your ears. It's such a pleasure.
I've told stories, and I'm sure singers have the same thing. Oh my god, Pud singing at the funeral, for example.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that just popped into my head.
Yeah,
amazing. But I've told stories where afterwards people have been like, "That was amazing," right? And it's their investment in a story can be so valid and so wonderful. I think the danger is sometimes when we look at good performers, I wouldn't say I'm a good performer. I think I have had good performances, but like we can sometimes get into our heads that we can't do that. And I think one of the things that is really important about songs and stories is that give it a go, right? Yeah. Like everybody has a rough performance. Everybody's nervous. Get up there. Give it a go. If it's a song or a story, choose your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I can't sing for toffee, but I can sometimes pull together a good yarn. Yeah. And it's like, you'll get better, you'll learn. In fact, I would love to learn how to sing this year. That's one thing I would really like to do. So.
Singing was really, really awesome. And like, it's something I would like to do more. I have a bunch of ideas, but it's just, it's a great thing.
Okay. Is it you?
It is me. Whoop. Okay, this is from Ben Diamond. With the population of Empire skyrocketing, how do you see the future at Anvil?
Wow.
Wow.
Well, they're going to get their own site.
Yeah.
Oh man,
the possibilities of the new site I think are difficult to really verbalise because it depends how it's conducted.
It depends how PD do it.
Yeah,
what their things are. I can tell you things I'd like to happen. I can say things that I can't think of that might happen. That would be awesome as well. I think PD will become more professional. I think they will have a better revenue stream. I think they will have more paid employees. I think they will have more. I think they will hopefully use the site to rent out to other LARPs, smaller LARPs, other Empire events, maybe that they're not running, but smaller events. We could be looking at actual structures. I think there will be changes to how the law is interpreted. I think some things are 15, 20 years old now as a concept and they need to be updated. I don't know what that means. But like, there's a lot of different things that can happen, and thank God I'm not running
something of that scale.
I mean, they're trying really hard in a very shifting world, and a hobby that is exploding.
I think, I adore Empire, by the way, but I'm actually really excited. I'm sure a bunch of people are as well. And this is in no way to call for this to happen quickly. In fact, I don't want this to happen quickly. I'm really excited to see what game they make next.
Yeah.
I honestly think that the next one, with all of the lessons learned, and this will probably be 10, 15 years from now. Who knows? I mean, Empire, and that's one thing that I do love about Empire is that the length of scope in terms of time that they give things. Like, for example, the idea that we're not going to complete the library to work out how to make the Valorn killing stuff for 2 years, potentially. And they have that length of vision, right? But to see the game that could come in whatever time frame comes after Empire, I think that's exciting.
In game, I see World War 3 happening, World War 1. I see the world expanding a lot. I see like us discovering new territories, maybe new nations. I see new alliances being formed. Old enemies become friends. Old friends become enemies. I think there's one thing that's so great about Empire is the imagination sandbox Candyland it is, right? Where I don't know what's going to happen. Lots and lots is going to happen.
The writing team for Empire is, I think, potentially its greatest strength. It's so good, and the length of effort that goes into it.
They do
incredible amounts
really
of work.
great work. They're really hard pushed. They have to work their asses off. And anyone that knows what it's like trying to do something creative knows that doing that on a time scale is very difficult.
And a very condensed time scale at times.
Really condensed, right? Like, I could be like, oh, they didn't have the ambassador briefing ready for the 9 o'clock meeting or whatever. Like, fuck, dude. Like, they are busting their balls. I think this is one thing, like I was talking about with the idea of them becoming more of a professional company, is having more staff, more paid staff, more people dedicated to really creating the worlds that we want to go into, and like, because I feel like it's grown so much and so fast that it's understandable that these things that people are struggling with.
I think the necessity, and this is on the players, and I think you actually are a pretty good example of this, is the of players sharing roles, and roles essentially being more roles needing to be created to give more players the opportunity to be involved in those types of game experiences is important.
Yes. It's interesting because in this last year, I think for the first couple of years of us playing, we didn't interact with anything that was larger. And now we're kind of in a position now where we're like, oh my God, there's so much intrigue and plot everywhere. Oh my God. But that's probably says more about people we know, the experience that we've had, and all the rest of it.
You're pushing and pulling those levers, of course, as well. Bear in mind, I'm not so much, right?
It's so hard. And our points of view are so subjective.
Yes.
Like, when we're talking, like, maybe we should mention this more, it's our personal experiences, right? And they're so subjective that it's so hard for me to be critical or give advice or predict, because I have no idea. I see the machine rolling down the street, okay? I have no idea who's driving, what the engine room looks like, how all of that works, right?
It's a bit like, I feel sometimes like I'm a child looking at a car going down the road, but I've never been in a car before.
Well, I don't know what it's like to try and balance all of the things, the social pressures, the creative things, trying to give good game, all of that, right? I'm really invested in the diplomacy game, and I know that I'm marching up a giant staircase full of custard, okay? But like, in my experiences, like, Andy Raff, that cheeky scamp, he giveth and he taketh away.
I knew it was going to happen. The thing is, obviously, you're on the wave, right? You're on that surfboard, and you're about to take the wave every time.
I'm invested in it,
and every time,
really hard.
Every time, Dave's like, "Oh, there's not going to be anything for the diplomacy stuff, or it's not going to go the way." And then also, I always say to you,
I'm like, "Oh, this weekend's great because nothing's going on. I can just chill."
Yeah,
and then coming rolling down the mountain is a boulder pushed by Andy Raff, and it's like, I love it, I hate it, it's the best. I wouldn't change anything about it. It's magnificent. I would love a win. I would love this to be like, oh, everything's better now, but there's just
that's not how it works.
It's not how it works at all.
That's definitely not how it works.
So bravo PD, love your work. Phil Forrester, craft or buy equipment? ? Ooh. Now you're talking to two people that come on very different opposites of the spectrum from here, because I don't craft for shit. I like buying. I like buying off artists. I like buying off craftspeople. I'm not driven to craft.
No. You know what? It's a question of, for example, when there's so many facets to this. If you can craft and you have the time and the money, because crafting does itself cost money, bear in mind, and all of the different investmental qualities it takes to craft, then crafting is a lot of fun and very rewarding if you have the right temperament for it.
Yeah.
Buying stuff is sure a lot easier. But I would say there's a nice little middle ground of, especially if you have, again, money is a big factor in this.
Yes.
If you can find people whose work you like, especially there's a wealth, a glorious wealth of talent in the
there are
LARPing
so many
community.
people, like, and this is for you savvy shoppers out
Yeah.
there, find yourself an up-and-coming crafter, okay? Like, I know a couple of people, and I've offered this, and it hasn't come through yet, and I'm actually kind of too broke to do it now anyway, but I know a couple of people that are leather workers and a few other people, they don't have the tools to create. And I was saying to them, like, how much are the tools? Like, you're a student, how much are the tools? Like, if I invest in buying you some stuff, will you make me something at cost?
Yeah.
Right? Like, things like that. Because unfortunately a lot of artists don't really appreciate the work that they do.
Yeah.
Some do, not all
Yeah.
don't. But, like, when something that someone else can make for you can be incredible, right?
What I would say, actually, and if I have an advice to a buyer out there, I would actually, and this has always been very successful for me in a whole bunch of different endeavours I've done when I've worked with freelance artists, or when I've worked in modding communities for games and things, or when I've done stuff for LARP. Offering a little bit more than the quoted price, and giving and almost giving that money to the crafter, as say in whatever field it is, as almost like a run wild and be creative budget, enjoy yourself budget is how I really like to express it. And it's not often not talking about a lot of money, but sometimes I'll just chuck an extra 10, 15 quid into whatever it is. And obviously this is all dependent. I'm not a particularly wealthy person or anything at all.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I often chuck that little bit of extra money in just because partly obviously I'm coming from this myself as someone who does a reasonable amount of crafting. But I find that just using that as a something to tell the artist that I really value them artistically and creatively. I want them to explore their vision of an interpretation of the brief that I'm giving them, and to have this as a buffer to do that with. I found that to be extremely successful for me to the past. So
finding craftspeople and artists that you vibe with, that get your shit, you get their shit, and just really good. On the other hand, I think crafting can be incredibly rewarding.
The growth for my own self as someone who's crafted is indescribable. I mean, those of you who have gone along the journey of listening to the podcast, hopefully you've grasped just how instrumental it's been to some massive personal evolutions in my life. I mean, it's been huge. It's been huge.
Flip side of that, don't give yourself shit like I did when you don't finish a project or something doesn't quite work out how you wanted it to. It's a learning process, right? All right, cool. Let's keep going. How many have we got?
We're coming through.
And a few more.
It's from Violet. If there was one thing you could change in Empire, what would it be and why?
Jarm not being a fucking slaver nation. Oh my god. Like, Jesus. I would magic wand that shit tomorrow. The Imperial, the National, what they called? The Synod or whatever? Which are the ones that vote on stuff? The ones that...
We're talking...
the ones that changed the Valorn thing. What are they called? National Assemblies or whatever. What are they called?
Changing it in what way, sorry?
So the Briar storyline, when they voted that Briars should not be discriminated against.
That's Synod, I think.
Synod.
Yeah.
I would change some of that because their ability to rewrite plot can rob people of plot and game, I would say. That's one thing I would also change.
Yeah, I don't know, it's a tough one. I mean, look, I would love for there, to be honest with you, and this is coming more of as a military aspect, I would love there to be, and obviously this is all based on way more money, way more budget of people and personnel, all the things. I would love for there to be 2 Sentinel gates and 2 separate opportunities to run more battles and more.
That's a
more
great
things.
shout.
The problem is when you work in a situation where you're trying to organise people for skirmishes and try and gank people on skirmishes, and you see a whole bunch of people, and it's generally, unfortunately, some new players sometimes get bounced from skirmishes. It's very sad.
I'm just reading the next question. Violet's question is, if you could magically change one thing about the hobby, what would it be? The budgets. I would have £1 billion loss with epic fields and multiple Sentinel gates and giant prosthetic beasties and like I would, goddamn,
Yes,
goddamn,
full on megaliths.
Like I would just go so big. Yeah.
All of that. Phil Forrester asks if Navarre wasn't in the woods, would this spoil the vibe of the nation?
Interesting question. There are Navari not in the woods.
Yeah, and that's fine. And it works very well. And I think obviously thematically Navarre, for example, there's areas of Farunin that are just marshland, or there are areas of other parts of Navari territories that are very flat. And bear in mind, we're a kind of a nomadic travelling people anyway.
Navaris
so
are a culture, but the woods add something really special to what we do.
Agreed. And I think this is the thing, for me personally, my LARPing experience is so tied to being someone who camps in the wood and enjoys the woodland aesthetic that, yes, it would take something away from my own personal enjoyment of what it is to be Navarre. I really enjoy camping in the woods.
Yeah. Two
more
left,
to
one
go.
for you,
one for me.
Phil, if Gellert saw Talis or Keys in a no-win fight, would he run to rescue? We know Dave would Gellert?
Here's a question.
That's an interesting question.
I think, could this be based off some aspersions that have been made by Dave?
What?
About the actions of other characters post Ifan's death. I just want to see, where would Gellert stand? Would Gellert throw himself into the lion's mouth?
Honest answer, depends on the situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
If it was, I needed to make a Senate motion that day, and I had to do something that would stop a war.
Yeah.
Then Talis and Keys
gonna die.
Gonna die. Like that's how it is.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to look at and Gellert's a very big, larger picture guy.
Yeah.
And so tough. Generally, yes, absolutely, but specifically if there is something which seems to be all the time now, there is a something crazy, like if I don't get elected, yes, if I do get elected, then we'll see.
That's it. That's a very good answer.
And Phil, you cheeky so-and-so,
I know, put him on the spot, guys. And
last one.
This is the last question, and thank you so much for all these questions, everyone.
Dude,
this is
amazing.
from Phil once again.
Okay.
This is your worst LARP purchase. And that's actually quite an interesting one.
Those Wish shirts.
Yeah, don't get stuff off Wish, to be honest with you.
Fucking awful.
They're really bad.
Jesus Christ. They were just awful.
The problem is, when you're on a low budget and you're starting LARPing, and to be honest with you, you're not sure, really. You're looking at this as a hobby in a different kind of way when you're on that kind of budget. Like, how much do I want to invest in a thing?
Yep.
And the problem is, you're kind of penny pinching the whole way.
Yep.
And what I would say is, I really encourage you not to totally penny pinch on all these stuff. There are many other ways to get cheap kit that work much better and much more successfully than going
Armour
somewhere.
Arena. They're based in either Pakistan or India. I should always get that right because the difference is vast, and I'm very sorry to those that are listening. That whatever, but it takes a while to get delivered. Buying straight off the suppliers, the stuff's really fucking awesome. I've really enjoyed it for the price point. Absolutely,
but
brilliant.
also all the classic things: going to second-hand places, going to thrift stores, going.
Oh, dude! I bought all of my
Western kit.
My Western kit for less than £20.
Yeah,
it was great.
It looks amazing,
and it was like fitted shirts, perfect in-theme stuff. I
think when you're looking at an aesthetic and something you want to achieve, don't necessarily go with the idea of that you already have a hard sort of set in stone image of what your character must step out of the changing room looking like. Go with a vibe, go with a theme of something you want to attain, and then just throw yourself at certain areas. Ask questions, definitely ask questions of other LARPers, and gauge a college of opinions on what is a good selection of things, and then just throw yourself towards those things, and you'll walk out with something cheap, affordable, comfortable, and practical. And this is a kind of a weird piece of advice. I do a thing, I battle, for example, as someone who is an archer and a physic. So I have to be able to do medical stuff and have all my archery stuff on me at the same time.
Yes.
This is a logistical problem.
Well, for a long time, you were you were a clattering man
Yeah.
because you just had too much stuff on you and you couldn't operate properly.
So
right?
I have a thing that I do at home, and this is whenever I'm kind of making anything for my kit. And this sounds very odd, and my wife has to endure all of this. I basically do household tasks in my LARP gear, and the idea is I can never put anything on the floor or on a surface.
That is odd.
So I can't... If I can complete this game, if I can make myself a cup of tea, if I can go over to something, pick it up, manipulate it, put it down, do the things, without putting my bow down, without putting any of my other kit down, I know that the kit works. And I found that actually to be a really good test logistically of what is comfortable and works. And I know that sounds very weird, but that's a weird piece of advice.
It does. Yeah, it does sound weird.
Anyway.
We did it.
We did it. All the questions. Listen to
you.
them all.
Thank you so much for all of your questions. We weren't really sure what we were going to do. A little bit nervous about it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for everyone that took the time to give us all these wonderful
Really
questions.
enjoyable time.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful journey that we're continuing to go on.
Yeah, and who knows when the train comes to a stop? Hopefully not anytime soon.
All those pictures of you are going to come out. Thank you to our patrons. You're really helping us right now.
Yeah, really helping right now.
As always, don't join the Patreon if you can't afford it. We really appreciate ones that do.
Yeah.
Thank you all for just listening, really.
Yeah. And look, just an absolute pleasure to do this podcast, just to enjoy all the experiences that you have to offer. It's just so good. It's outrageous, really.
We are about to run out of tape.
Yes, so let's call it.
Have a wonderful day, whatever you're doing. If you're sat in the bathtub, if you're... we've had a whole bunch of people listening all over the world. So hello if you're not listening in the UK.
Yeah.
Some wonderful places.
It's
on that
amazing.
List.
Yeah.
Like I'm very jealous of.
Yeah.
Places.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be laughing there at some time in the future. Oh, that'd be amazing.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I need to buy those lottery tickets. Have a great time. Strength to the Empire.
Straight from the bar.